I'm going to go Suns over 46.5.
Let's
Dude,
go.
here's the thing, man. From what was believed a year from hell from the Suns last year, sure, the playoffs did not go according to plan. And what was a offense that needed and should have been better. Um, they won 49 games. And that's with the quote big three playing a limited amount of minutes together, not having a point guard. And I think we are going to see this team take I wouldn't want to say a huge leap because the West is so deep, but the level of drama around this team is minimal now. You have 2 point guards, Tyus Jones and Monty Morris, who can run a system under Coach Bud that is going to be very offensive friendly. Um, can they get stops? We may not know, but look at Dallas last year. They had a bottom tier defense in the regular season, or especially first half of the regular season. All it takes is for a Chris Dunn to click for the second half of the season, and now you have an elite wing defender. Um, Here's the thing, man. We've seen time and time again Bud's teams succeed in the regular season due to a high level of offensive efficiency. And what better team to produce offensive efficiency than Book, Beal, and KD, you know? So 47 wins, even in a brutal West.
Yeah.
There's going to be some prioritization on winning regular season games. Um, and all this does come down to health, obviously. But we were unhealthy last year and won 49 games, 47. Book it,
So the Sun book it. Nice.
book
The
it.
Suns were my sixth team, and it's just because at first it was like the number seems good. I'm a diehard Suns fan. Then I thought more about this. Tyus Jones wasn't just a great get at the price that we got him at. The dude is a legit point guard in this league, and particularly so for our need.
Mm-hmm.
Not a guy who can score, not an explosive threat, but a guy who can steadily control tempo, pace,
Bro,
take us out of ruts. Tyus Jones, I believe he led the association in assists to
to turnover
turnover
ratio.
rate ratio last year.
Guess who was number two? Monty Morris. We have 1-2
Wow.
in assist to turnover ratio in the last 3 years of the NBA.
Guys, the primary problem, and that should be enough for you to place that bet right there, because our primary issue last year, sloppy play. And it drove me nuts. It drove you nuts. Coach Bud, offensive coach. This is an offensive team. We talked about this last year. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
enough with the defensive talk. Who cares? Our strength is having three of the best offensive players in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, why it's a great shout. You're right. Our big three played very little minutes. There's no way in this world that Beal misses another, what, 40 games?
I
Booker
mean, there
misses
there definitely
20.
is, but like I would really like to like not put that into the universe. But
Better,
also now,
better, yeah.
go ahead. I was saying also now is if those guys do miss games, we're not playing a Bates Diop in the role of Kevin Durant. We have somewhat more depth. Like Grayson Allen's coming off the bench now. Monty Morris can spot minutes. You have these rookies that, if need be, can give you good spot minutes. Like I watched the preseason game. It's preseason, sure. There's a lot to work on with these guys, but you can't tell me they can't come in and play for us.
Well, Oso is also an intriguing guy, not to get too deep on this. 5 assists in that
Dude,
game.
dude.
Oso is kind of, in his own way, he gives us an Al Horford type of thing where, like, we can run a lot of weird, quirky sets with him at the five because he can switch on D and he could play make.
All right.
Um,
Last question on this, and
yeah,
then we can move on.
yeah.
What are the chances of Oso Ighodaro being the closing five man for the Suns in a playoff series this year?
I put that
It's not out
at
of the question.
I'd put it at like 30%, but Nurkic, his hands are so bad that I would almost prefer having Oso out there right now. Also, I think he's from Phoenix. I
He
think
is. I grew
Oso is
up.
from
I grew
you
up playing
played,
against him.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So Suns over 46 and a half.
Hmm.
are a steal. Oh, I think over 47.5 on FanDuel, but
Okay. I saw it 46. Either way.
this one might surprise you, especially because of how mids they've been in the regular season as of late. The Miami Heat over 44.5 wins.
I was looking at it, man.
I think
Looking at
that's
it.
a mega steal, and it's based upon the fact that Bam, in the playoffs last year, he started to shoot threes.
Hmm.
The Heat started to give Bam the green light in terms of you are our number one guy. And I think Bam, we saw him for Team USA. I think he's ready for it. They'll have Jimmy take a little bit of a step back, a little bit of a back seat. Then you look at Jaime Jaquez year two, one of the best rookies in the league last year. I just think this team has a nice blend of youth, vets, and culture.
Hmm.
44.5 wins seems
Feels
really
pretty
low.
good.
I think they're more so in that 48 and 34 range.
I was gonna say like 47 wins seems about for an Eric Spoelstra coach team. Like, come on.
Also, Jimmy and Hero, let me see here. They missed a combined 41 games. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying Jimmy won't miss time, but 41 games combined seems a little bit extreme to repeat. So they'll be a little healthier.
Yeah.
Bam takes that leap. I think it's a great bet.
The thing is too, it's been a somewhat quiet off season for Jimmy Butler since Pat Riley made those comments towards him. And so I think Jimmy Butler has a somewhat fire lit under him to play more regular season games, to give
Great
more
point.
of a shit during the regular season. And I
Yeah.
think I think Spoelstra and Riley, I don't know if they had a come to Jesus meeting with him, but they had to have done something to be like, hey, if you want to be here, you have to kind of quit with some of the stuff that you're saying. We need you in these games. We need to prioritize a regular season. And I don't think they're title contenders. I think they're a trade away. Also, a point of if things are leveling out and Hero becomes available on the block again, they're a move away from getting another really good player. Therefore, maybe 40, 45 plus wins is definitely in their future.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet, and I think you feel safe about it as the person who places it because of the Heat culture. Who's your
Yes, you
next
do.
team?
Man, give me the T Wolves under 42 and a half. Um, yeah,
42 or
or
52?
52 and a half. T Wolves under 52 and a half. Um, I think for them to reach 50 wins, Ant is going to have to be an MVP candidate. And by candidate, I mean high level MVP candidate. Um, they traded Cat. They got back Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. They're relying on old man Mike at the point guard position. And they have aside, I mean, you can say Naz Reid if he's going to be six man or if he's going to start at the four. They have no real center offensive ceiling when it comes to Gobert. Um, it's a team that in a West that is substantially better. There's now a target on Ant's back, and it's all rightly deserved because he had been great and he talked his shit and
Yeah,
he went to the Olympics, won a gold medal,
yeah.
but he now has to live with that. And there's going to be a little bit more of a pep in team step when they go to Minnesota or when Minnesota comes to them. Um, I think the Knicks won the Cat trade personally. Um, how is Julius Randle a ball dominant post up? Let me get 6 to 7 dribbles into my shot with a Rudy Gobert clogging the paint. Don't know how that's going to look. I do like some pieces. DiVincenzo is going to be a great guy off the bench. Naz Reid's going to have to take a step up. I want to see that if I were betting the over on the Wolves. But I think 53 wins is a lot of wins for a team that lost its second best player.
So it's a bet that I would not throw money on.
Mm.
I just wouldn't. I could see the Wolves being a top two team out west. I don't see them dipping below top four. I actually think they won the Cat deal And the biggest piece of it now that I reflect, Nas Reed gives them almost the same exact thing. If you look at metrically, all the Wolves really needed out of Cat was to shoot a lot of threes and to make a ton of them. Nas does the same thing. I also think their guard depth now with Dante and Dillingham off of the bench is going to change things. They're going to get out of some of those ruts. We saw them versus the Mavs last year go into big, um, quiet spells, ruts. I
Mhm.
don't think that happens this year. The Randall piece of this interests me. I kind of feel like they're going to try and move off of him. I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't already. But if he can mold, if he could bend a little bit, give up some of the scoring, I think he provides a little bit of the playmaking from the big spot that Cat did.
Sure.
I could see the Wolves actually winning like 55 games.
Interesting. I think this is also me saying that it may be one more year like last year's in terms of Ant's progression. He's still ultra young, and the athleticism in the game has it's coming. It's coming. Don't get me wrong, but I still think he's got some ways to go.
For
And
sure.
if he is, like I said, and I prefaced it, if Ant is an MVP candidate, this team's going to clear that number. But I think in order for them to get to 50 wins in a loaded West, he's going to have to be that. And so I want to see that from him. I'm not betting against Ant. I'm betting that this team takes a little bit of a step down from last year.